Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney. In 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? A little extra BT Unleashed content for you as we get ready for one of my absolute favorite sporting events. That, of course, is the Big East tournament coming up this week. Is it descends upon the great Madison Square Garden. And listen, you probably heard me say this over the years, but when I look at my early formative years as a sports fan, a blossoming sports fan, obviously playing everything, consuming as much as I can, the Big East, along with the Yankees and Mattingly and Bernard King of the Knicks, the Big East has a seat at the table in terms of most influential sports and events and things that really inspired me to do this for my life's work. So with that in mind, as we go through it, and I'll tell you, it was not easy. The conference was formed back in 1979, so many different iterations, whether it's Louisville, whether it's Notre Dame, whether it's the old guard, Syracuse leaving, Pitt. There's been so many different versions of the Big East. So the objective here is my all-time Big East team. And I tell you, as we get this up, not easy finding a way to get this filled out. I tell you, it is a challenge. So we'll do the 5 starters. We will obviously round it out in terms of a bunch of guys coming off the bench doing their thing. We will find one coach to coach this incredible all-time unit. And before we even get to the actual team, it's so deep and so vast and so rich that I had to start with an honorable mention. I didn't want to shortchange anybody. So I went through literally all the different teams and all the different situations, and I was able to get my honorable mention. I want to make sure these guys get a little bit of love there and not get completely ignored. So let's run through this a little fast here. Terry DeHare. Terry DeHare was a guy, not a great pro, bounced around a little bit, but you want to talk about a bucket getter at Seton Hall, 23, 25, 30. I mean, Terry DeHare could absolutely fill it up. Great player for the Pirates. Sherman Douglas, another guard, was after Pearl Washington. Phenomenal all-around player. Pretty good pro as well. Actually carved, even though he bounced around too, he had some really good years. High assist man. I mean, the Carrier Dome at that point was absolutely rocking. So one thing that I try to do is not omit the OGs. I don't remember watching Otis Thorpe play. A little bit too young for that, but you look at what he did at Providence up there in Rhode Island. Absolutely phenomenal. So we get Big O and a good pro. Otis Thorpe played for a long time in the NBA. This guy was one of my absolute favorites. If you're my age, okay, and you grew up in Brooklyn or Queens or anywhere in the boroughs, and you were a St. John's guy, which everybody was back then, I promise you, if you made a layup or you had a nice pass, a little no-look to your buddy, you did the helicopter that Mark Jackson would do running up and down the court. A showman, incredible vision, actually a pretty underrated defender in college, not in the NBA. Mark Jackson, one of my all-time favorites for sure. How about Kerry Kittles? Now, you're on the wing, and you got a fast break, and you got something in transition. Kerry Kittles was about as explosive and is about as pure a finisher in terms of combination, attacking the rim and shooting the jump shot as there really was back in that day. Kerry Kittles was phenomenal. Really good pro as well on some really good net teams. How about a shout out? We get back to Providence. Ryan Gomes, a little bit more recent than Otis Thorpe for sure. He was in the 2000s, player of the year in the conference. Phenomenal. Donyell Marshall, that was when the Huskies started getting things cooking up there in stores and began to carve out this national imprint. He was phenomenal. Lawrence Moten, sadly, is no longer with us. He passed away last September, and for a long time, he held the all-time Big East scoring mark. He was not a great pro, but man, oh man, when you got him the basketball, 3 levels, threes, attacking the rim, mid-range, finishing fast breaks, getting to the free throw line, Lawrence Moten was an absolute offensive killer. Shout out to him, and rest in peace to LM, and rest in peace to this gentleman as well. Class act, and also somebody that I basically saw play every game as a St. John's fan. Malik Sealy, over 2,000 points at St. John's, and was just beginning to click a little bit in the NBA before he was tragically killed by a drunk driver. Just awful. My God. Malik Sealy, a great player and a great young man, repping the Johnnies there. And then we start to round it out, and we got to get some more bigs in there. And if you look at well, this is really maybe the second wave of UConn dominance, right? Donyell Marshall more the first, right? But Emeka Okafor was a big Not a great pro, but a phenomenal rebounder, a great finisher, stout defender, protecting the rim. So we've got Emeka on that list as well. So before we get to the actual reserves, let's run through it again. We got DeHare, we got Sherm from Syracuse, Otis Thorpe, Mark Jackson, Mark Action Jackson. Let's say that right. Kerry Kittles, Ryan Gomes, Danielle Marshall, Lawrence Moten, Malik Sealy, and Emeka Okafor. So now the challenge, and I know that this is going to open up some dialogue, which is what it's all about, by the way. This is subjective. This is my interpretation. If you're older and you saw maybe those great Georgetown teams, and I'm not just talking about Patrick Williams, but like a Reggie Williams or some of those other players, Sleepy Floyd, who is not on my list, and maybe you think that he should be, you're going to have a different list, but this is my list. All right, so let's get to the reserves. First, coming off the bench in the backcourt, we're going to go to Mr. Pearl Washington. Pearl Washington from Cuse, three-time All-Big East, 84-85 consensus All-American, Big East Rookie of the Year, 16.7 assists a game, 13th overall pick by the Nets back in 1986. That was a crazy draft. A lot of tragedy and underachievement and players who got sidetracked with drugs. That did not work out in the NBA, and sadly, Pearl is no longer with us. Brain cancer or brain aneurysm, but I met Pearl a couple times. Just a gentleman of a figure, phenomenal player, sick handle. And the thing about Pearl, why Pearl has to be. I mean, you can make the case that Pearl should be a starter, but why he must unequivocally be on any version of any Big East team, all Big East team, is because he really was the first true showman of the conference. Think about this. When they put this together back in 1979, all right, you had St. John's in New York, you had Georgetown in D.C., you had some other bigger markets, but when the cameras went to the Carrier Dome, like CBS, and you had 30,000 people at that very unique venue, and Pearl was slicing people up with no looks, I mean, it legitimized the Big East. So Pearl Washington, no doubt, is on my team. Kemba Walker, hey, now if you remember where he won 5 games in 5 days at the historic Big East tournament, I was there for all those games, by the way. So 2010, 2011 national champion. I was at that Final Four. I saw him win it. 2-time All Big East member, 2010, 2011 All-American as well. Not a great career in the NBA, but a terrific college player. First round, 9th overall by the Charlotte Bobcats. I promise you my next guest and my next choice here is going to get a lot of pushback here. That is Troy Bell from Boston College. You could push back. I'm not pushing back because if you watched him play, which I did, I don't know that you can really contest this, which some of you will try. Two-time, not one, two-time Big East Player of the Year, 3-time All Big East, and this is when the Big East was better back then. 2-time consensus national All-American. That is big-time stuff. So you can quibble about this, have fun. He's sticking on my team. 21.6 points per game, 87% from the free throw line. And oh yeah, by the way, first round, 16th overall back in the NBA draft by the Celtics. We keep it moving. Only 1 year in the Big East, but boy, was it a good one. Forward, Carmelo Anthony, Syracuse, helped deliver along with Warwick and some others. Jimmy Boeheim's only national championship. That was back in 2002, 2003. And again, the 1 year consensus All-American, Big East Rookie of the Year. Number 15 is retired in the rafters at the Dome. 22.2 points per game, 10 rebounds, a great pro, great scorer. First round, 3rd overall pick by Denver back in the day. We keep it moving, coming off the bench in the front court. We had to get some size. My guy, Walter the Truth Berry. This guy was, he was just unique. He was smooth. It didn't look like he was playing hard, but he would absolutely destroy you. 85, 86, AP Player of the Year. He won the Wooden back in 85, 86, which is the most prestigious college individual award. Consensus All-American, 2-time All Big East, 85, 86 Player of the Year, 20 points, 10 rebounds, double-double. Didn't really work out in the pros for a lot of different reasons, but first round pick, 14th overall, 86 by the Blazers. And I will never forget being at a McDonald's drive-thru with my dad after one of my CYO games and hearing on the radio in the Big East Championship back in 86, it was a baseline jump shot by Ron Rowan, really good shooter for the Johnnies back then, splashes one from the corner, boom. Pearl, the aforementioned Pearl, gets the ball, goes 94 feet. And Walter, as Louis used to say, Louis, love you, Louis. Rest in peace, Coach Carnesecca. Never really busted it to get back on defense. This time he did, and he swatted Pearl at the buzzer, and the Johnnies won. All right. Alonzo Mourning, beast of a center for Georgetown. Not one, not two, not three, four-time All-Big East, two-time consensus All-American, 91-92 Big East Player of the Year, and not one, not two, three-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, 17 points a game, 9 rebounds, twice, averaged 5 blocks a game. And in terms of his NBA prowess, terrific player, second overall, 92 by the Hornets. How about a little punch coming off that bench? You want that mid-range jump shot? You want a little swoop to the hoop? You want a little three ball? Let's get a little Rip Hamilton action up for the Huskies. Champion, 98-99, two-time All-American, two-time All-Big East, two-time Big East Player of the Year. Second year at UConn. Second year, 21.5 points a game. Third year, 20.5 points a game. 83% from the stripe, 38% from threes. Wound up getting drafted by the Wizards, 7th overall, but really cut his teeth with the Pistons, a team that I covered when I worked in Detroit early in my career. Terrific NBA player. Awesome player. All right, so before we actually get to the starters, man, oh man, I'm just thinking about this. There's so many players that I wanted to put up there that I thought about, and it's impossible. I mean, the league hasn't been around for 10 years or 20 years, 1979. And again, there's been so many different versions. That's what's crazy about this. You go back to the early days, the Johnnies, Boston College, Georgetown, Villanova, Pitt, teams like that, Syracuse, of course. And then all of a sudden you look up, all these years later, there's a Miami, there's a Virginia Tech, there's a South Florida, there was a Rutgers for a minute, Notre Dame, Louisville, like it, Marquette, and now this most recent iteration of certainly Creighton, some other teams, Butler, Xavier. It's crazy. And it's a great basketball conference. It's got the best tradition, for my money, of any conference out there. And I don't care that the ACC's got maybe bigger venues or football money. In terms of A to Z, all-encompassing, there is not a single basketball conference that can touch the Big East. So with that in mind, we've got the reserves, right? We've got the honorable mention. How about our starters? At guard, let's go to. We need an answer. Well, this guy's going to provide tons of answers. Allen Iverson, that's right, AI coming up from Georgetown, 1995, 1996. Consensus All-American, 23 points a game for the Hoyas. Two-time Big East defensive. A lot of people don't associate AI as a great defensive player, but he was picking pockets. He was reading passing lanes and getting steals. Not once, twice. Big East Defensive Player of the Year. He was also the Big East Rookie of the Year, and he was also the #1 overall pick back in the 96 NBA draft. That, of course, is the great Allen Iverson. I mean, what would AI stats be if he came up, during a different generation and he played 3 years, or if he played 4 years like most of these players did? Just unstoppable, incredible freak athlete, sick with the handle, stones of steel, never afraid to take a big shot. My God, what a menace. I mean, I'm just trying to think being on a court and trying to defend a young Allen Iverson at Georgetown. Good luck. All right, well, he's going to do his thing. You need somebody next to him in the backcourt, preferably a sniper, preferably an athlete, preferably who, if they come up on the jump shot, a little pump fake, get to the rim, I got my guy, because if he does that, he's yoking it on your face. That is Ray Allen from UConn. Ray Allen very well might be, if it's not Steph Curry, as we get that up there right now for Ray Allen, please. It's not, when you look at the shooters of the history of the game, it's got to be, you're talking about Steph, you're talking about a few others here, and Ray Allen is right there. You're talking about a 3-year career with the Huskies, 93, 94, 95, 19 points a game, 45% from downtown, 95, 96, the Big East Player of the Year, two-time All-American, the National Player of the Year, two-time All-Big East. And, oh, yeah, by the way, while he was drafted early on, he was obviously a great NBA player, a great NBA champion, and he was the 5th overall pick back in the 1996 NBA draft. Okay, so how about let's get to the front court now. We've got Allen Iverson. We've got Ray Allen. How about from St. John's? How about the great Chris Mullin? Mully, a 4-time All-Big East choice, Think about this, guys. Not one, not two, three, not four-time All Big East Player of the Year, three-time Big East Player of the Year. Really one of the best pure players and shooters and passers, and certainly my favorite of all time. Won the Wooden back in 84, 85, two-time consensus All-American, 4 years, 19 points a game. No three-point shot, by the way. 85% from the stripe, 7th overall pick by the Warriors back in 85. That, of course, is the great Chris Mullin. How about we need a big there, and that big is Derek Coleman. Derek Coleman from Syracuse. 1986, 1987, Big East Player of the Year, four-time All Big East, 89, 90, consensus All-American, and over 2,000 career points, over 1,500 rebounds, first overall pick by the Nets back in 1990, and obviously Derek Coleman, a great player. And think about Derek, too. Derek's one of those guys where he would get a rebound, and he could lead the break himself. He at 6'9". And back then, you're talking about, late 80s, as I said, an era where bigs weren't doing that. It was a very more conventional in the post, He could shoot threes on a pull-up. He could lead the break. He was a ferocious rebounder, as was this guy. At center, 7 feet from Georgetown, number 33, co-captain Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing to me. And I didn't see Wilt, and I didn't see Kareem in college. I didn't see some of those monsters and titans of the game. There is nobody that can convince me that Patrick Ewing was inferior to any college player in the history of college basketball. You cannot convince me of that. Watching him in real time and watching how he looked against other players, it was like watching a different species. 83, 84 champion. That was his one championship. 84, 85 Naismith winner. 3-time consensus All Big East. Four-time Conference Player of the Year. 2-time Big East Player of the Year. 4 straight years, led Division I in rebounding, over 2,100 points, number 1 pick by the Knicks back in 85. And, Patrick was just one of these guys where he played with a different energy, a different anger, a different motor. And to me, and this is all encompassing, the Alcindors, the Waltons, the Maraviches, any great college player that you want to come up with, Patrick Ewing, not just for the Big East, Patrick Ewing is on that team for the entire country. That's how good Patrick Ewing was. All right, so we got the team. We need a coach. And I'll tell you, this was one of my tougher things here. Obviously, shout out to my guy, Louis. He wasn't going to be the coach here. Didn't win the championship. Others did. Louis, phenomenal. Roley did win the championship back in 85 when that Villanova team, but that was really the first Final Four game I remember watching and championship game. I don't know how they beat Georgetown that night. Harold Jensen didn't miss. If you didn't watch it, historically, it's hard to accept the fact that Georgetown lost. That's how good they were. So Roley won that. Boeheim, all these wins, phenomenal. John Thompson was a terrific legend, titan of the game. Jay Wright with multiple championships. But guys, even Rick Pitino at Louisville, currently with St. John's, at Providence. I really thought about putting Rick in there. Now, I do think that Rick is the greatest coach in the history of college basketball for reasons I've chronicled many times. And the short version is because he's done it at so many different places. And he's gone to so many moribund situations like Kentucky on probation, St. John's, a dead brand. Providence really hadn't done anything for a while. Gets him to the Final Four in 87 with Billy Donovan. All the things he did collegiately, of course, Louisville, right? Iona, where he just elevated, and he proves that his greatness is transferable to any situation. But in terms of this exercise, the Big East, just sheer Big East accomplishment, there's honestly one choice to me, and that is the great, sometimes surly. I loved him. Every time I interviewed him, he was great, but he was a little ornery for sure. The great Jim Calhoun, head coach of the UConn Huskies. Not 1, not 2, 3 national champions, right? 4-time Big East Coach of the Year, 4 Final Four appearances, and 874 wins at UConn. So, I don't know how he's going to divvy up the minutes. That's up to Coach Calhoun. I don't know, first off the bench and rotations and all that stuff. That is up to Coach Calhoun. But I've got great confidence that Coach Calhoun, with that starting 5, with AI, with Ray Allen, with Mullen, Derek Coleman, and Patrick Ewing in the front court, and then guys like Kemba and Sherm and Pearl and Kittles and Zoe and Otis Thorpe and all the other great players coming off the bench, I will stack my all-time Big East team against any version of any other conference in America in the history of college basketball. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'm sure you're going to debate a couple of things. What did I miss? What would you do? What was really out of bounds? What did you like? Drop the comments there and then there. Let's get the debate going, and I will see you at the Big East tournament coming up.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney. It's my